And I think today, and again with AI, tweaking your dashboards in a way that they fully fulfill your requirements should be possible.
Welcome to The Retail Alchemist. I'm Deborah Langley.
And I'm Greg Merrill, and today we have Hugo Hanselman with us. Hugo, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hugo is a board member, an advisor, and also an entrepreneur. So, Hugo, we're going to dive right in, but to set the stage for our audience, we have a global listener group from all over. I want to hear a little bit about who's Hugo, what's your background, before we get into the topics we're going to talk about today.
All right. So Hugo, originally from the Netherlands, but left 30 years ago to go and explore the globe in several industries, with always a marketing and strategy, roles that I played out. I started with cars in mobility with Mercedes-Benz, moved into beer with InBev, where I finally ended up as the head of digital globally, being here in New York, located. But now since 10 years, I run two companies, an advisory business and a software development business.
Where are you based now?
I'm based in Brussels, Belgium.
Just to add another spin to the story.
Yeah, so it's because of AB InBev that used to be, let's say, mainly headquartered in Belgium. I moved there, then we moved to New York, where at that time, let's say, the whole decision-making unit was based and still is based. And then I moved there as well. But when I asked the family where to go when we leave New York, then it was, we want to go back to Brussels. And my kids are all Dutch, but none of them has ever lived in the Netherlands, really. So.
Interesting. So, Hugo, you have this tremendous experience set across all aspects of the retail experience. But we wanted to ask you just a few things today. Firstly, about retail media networks. Secondly, about use of data across multiple channels. And thirdly, really getting into the developments in loyalty. So first, as an investor, I've noticed an increase in the number of startups that are coming to us, positioning themselves as the next wave of retail media network solution providers. Some of this stems from, now we have access to AI, so we can bring data insights and capabilities that we weren't able to bring before. So tell us, what are you seeing in terms of developments in retail media networks and why it's different today than, say, 10 years ago?
So I think in 10 years ago, was there retail media at all? I think that the things that in 10 years ago, I think social media was exploding and we were all diving in there. We were trying to get closer to the consumer, and I'm saying we because at that time I was on the brand side. So we're trying to get way closer to the consumer. That, of course, through social media, through other media, and at that time in retail through promotions that were largely still non-digital at the time. But that, you could say, was the first form of retail media. Certain promotions that you would put out there in the retail itself, or at that time also on first e-commerce websites. I think the retail media that we have today started in the online world, of course, with the likes of Amazon, selling media to the brands and companies on Amazon to help them, put out their products and promos in front of consumers just before the decision making that they were going to buy something. And I think that's now also moving into the in-store, where screens are being put up and where the similar advertising technology is actually applied than we see online in store. With all our mobile phones that we bring in, we make ourselves known to the store that we're in. And at that time, the relevant ads can show up at the moment we are in front of a screen that shows then an ad, and hopefully, for the brand, changes our perception of what we want to buy or change our intention, and we buy something else. So, and I think that's now where this type of data is already used. That we come in and we're known. It's based on our phone profile, are we male, female? Are we age? Which age group are we in? Maybe a few other items, and then certain ads can be displayed. So I think that's where we see now, that with this data, we can also add new technologies to that. AI for sure as well, and that's probably also to your point where a lot of startups are now stepping in and saying, hey, we can do some things here, applying AI to the data that comes in, because the other side of the data is, of course, I've shown this ad. Has that led to a change, or has that led to a purchase? And then I can compare that to the data that comes out of the POS system, and if you want, you can track the person through the store in some ways to also know. At that time, he or she was in front of the screen, and later he or she was in front of the POS and did pay for everything that they bought. And then you can compare the data, and with that data, of course, there's again more magic to be done.
Let's get to some specific examples. Last night, we were at this Scandinavian Mind event, and one of the examples that I gave from my Nike days was in Tokyo. There was sort of a pairing of first-party and third-party data. First-party meaning the running community in Tokyo that are users of Nike's product, and the third-party data of actually when the sun comes up and goes down. Pair that with, in Japan, folks are working very long hours. So the running community runs when it's dark, before work or after work. And so the insight that came from this marrying of data was, hey, actually the footwear and apparel that we make for our Tokyo running community needs to have more reflective gear than other from a safety standpoint, because they're all running when it's dark. So that's kind of a specific example of using some different data sets to then, in this case, express it as geographic specific product that solves a need that maybe wasn't quite known. With a background of yours in Mercedes and automotive and AB InBev, alcoholic beverages, are there specific anecdotes or stories where you could use some of that data to solve an unmet problem?
I mean, the data that you refer to, I would, in a very broad term, say it's context data. So the context in Japan is runners are going in the early morning or in the late night when it's dark. So that's something, is a context to take into account for the ads that you're going to display on any retail media network. And I think that's for, let's go into beverages, is very similar. And in particular, if you look at beer, I would say if there are certain sports matches happening tonight, people might be more prone to get a few six-packs in the house to enjoy while you're watching the game. Another thing could be weather. Or time of year. I think the weather is also very important for beverage consumption. So those aspects you would definitely also take into account. So that's also data that you would put in, similar to your example of the running times.
Are there any companies, and maybe you haven't worked with them directly, but anything where, so if you stick with weather data, and let's say you sell T-shirts and hoodies, and normally around now it's cold in Chicago, but there's something weird going on and there's a heat spell there. So actually we don't need hoodies there. We need more shirts, but we're sold out of shirts. So, hey, LA is going to forward deploy some of those T-shirt inventory there because we've looked at the weather data and now we know we need to reallocate global inventory. Anybody that I just made that up. I don't know many companies that are capable of doing that.
Convincing though.
Yeah, but are there other things like that you have seen of folks doing it well? I think we have so many stories of folks not doing it well. And in something like this example I gave, Amazon is sort of the gold standard, right? They're like, rebalancing their inventory globally. I think it's like every 3 or 4 minutes. It's ridiculous. I don't know that everybody needs that. But anyway, are there, anything that you can share there? Ideally good examples, but maybe not.
I'm thinking now, and I'm thinking Amazon definitely would come to mind, but then for the rest, I have not directly an example to say, okay, that is a very good or bad example. There might be many, but no, I don't have. I think this is something where we're still going into, and we're trying to, as a whole community, to learn, how to do this well, and how to get better at this. I think what you see, of course, is that if that happens, you'll move into you'll move the consumers to an online platform where it's then easier to get the products into their hands. But shifting very quickly from LA to Chicago, no, I don't have an example directly from the store. But do you?
Well, I mean, I think that was my example, but it's more of, wouldn't it be cool if we could, and I think the balance there, everything is a balance is, I would love to see Amazon's cost of rebalancing their inventory. And I mean, there was one example of, a packet of like 5 pencils, and it had to move between 5 different distribution centers just to make sure that it was allocated in the right place geographically, so that when somebody clicked, I want to buy this and get it in 2 days, that it was in the right spot to be able to meet that customer expectation, that customer, demand. And I think Amazon spoiled all of us in terms of, speed of receiving our product. So again, I bring it up just not because I have a lot of great examples. I'm not seeing a lot of great examples.
No.
And it sounds like you aren't either.
No, I'm neither. I think Amazon, of course, is so big that it has the let's say also the strength to do this. And on the other hand, if you stick to the weather, probably you don't need a few days. The weather forecasts are pretty accurate already, a week or 2 weeks even in advance. So then companies can react to that. But there might be other things where then it's harder. And then if you're not so big as like Amazon is, then I would say then try and move people to an online channel that you also have, from where it is then easier than to ship, which could be Amazon.
We're back to them again.
One of the things we hear a lot from brands and retailers is, it's great, we're getting all this data, we have 50, 60 partners, API integrations, everybody has a dashboard, and we get all this information. But it's difficult to aggregate that, and for companies to be able to say, we want to see across all those different sources of information, we want to see it this way, or we want to see it customized for us another way. How do you think businesses should structure that kind of opportunity, and how do they structure their teams to be able to leverage access to that information?
So to the first question, it's very much looking at your specific requirements, and then therewith also your processes in the company, so that whatever you see in terms of data makes sense for the processes that in the way you run them. And I think today, and again with AI, tweaking your dashboards in a way that they fully fulfill your requirements should be possible. And maybe if you're a smaller retailer and that becomes too expensive, then you stick more to what the software provider can do for you. But I think today there should be a lot possible to fulfill your requirements in that regard. Yes. And then to the kind of people, you now need more, let's say, data analysts, and I would recommend that also to any business nowadays, to have those in-house as well. So don't rely only on your providers, but also have them in-house in order to make that a core competence of any business today.
Okay, Hugo, let's jump into loyalty here. So loyalty as a program or an umbrella, a way of delivering consumer experiences and whatever you're trying to do there, it's a big axe to wield. And there's different ways that you can do it. What are some ways that you've approached customer loyalty in the past that have led towards kind of the greatest results for the longest period of time? Are there specific technologies or tools that you've used, or tactics that you've used, or just in general, the way that you look at loyalty for brands and retailers and how that can move the needle in their business?
Yeah, so I think, loyalty is indeed a hard topic, and very often, it's seen as, okay, we need to collect data, first-party data, so that we have names and email addresses and more data about the person, so that we can send better or share better promotions, reward loyalty. I think when you look at how do things work best, is if you're able to make your customers part of a community. If you're able to get the brand as part of people's lives, and they are willing to so have that brand as part of their lives, then I think then you're going into a loyalty that's much stronger than if it's based on I have so many points and then I get something for free. Not that that doesn't work; it also works. But I think if you want a longer term success story, then that's where you have to go. So when I was at AB InBev, we built a few loyalty programs for different beer brands, and we did it around a theme. So, for instance, for Budweiser in Canada, we used hockey as a theme, and around that theme, we built the community, and Budweiser was part of that community. So we did the same for Stella Artois at the time, very much around cinema. So that was the theme at that time for Stella Artois. And then we had in Belgium for Leffe, we did one around craftsmanship. And we even used pubs that served those brands as kind of the community homes. So and that's, I think that to me is a form of loyalty if you're able to get people to include a brand in things they love. Whether I'm in craft or I'm in not craft beer, but really crafts and making things.
Like arts and crafts?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Or if you're in cinema or if you're in hockey, and then the brand is part of that. Then I think that's a form of loyalty where I think that's a longer term story. But of course, as a brand, it means you have to be part of that, of that theme as well. So if you have to, it has to be credible.
Yeah, you remind me of a quote that I used once in a talk. It was a Homer Simpson quote of something, beer, the cause and solution to all of world's problems, because all these different stories, whether it's with sports or automotive or culturally or hockey, there's alcohol. It's always there. But I mean, to your point, in some of these cultures, whether it be, a country or a geography, or whether it be a game or a sport, right? There's alcohol plays a role in there. So it's, becoming a part of the culture in that community and meeting them on their terms and just serving them, in that regard. So.
No, but I mean, yes. But on the other hand, I've been interim CMO for a fashion retailer in Europe for 1.5 years. And I've tried to install it there as well. It was a fashion chain for young girls, age 15 to 25. And we also tried to there find themes that were very much of interest to these girls, and trying to keep the theme, from within the age group, and do the same thing, but then make the stores their let's say the place to meet, the place to have that theme come alive. So it's also possible in other industries.
So the loyalty programs you built with ABN InBev and with the fashion brand, are these Web3 based?
No, at the time they weren't.
But now
they weren't. But now I think so. Using Web3 technology for loyalty makes a lot of sense for me. Why? I think there's a lot of compliance that you can already build in from the start. This is, for instance, also for alcohol quite important. So you can include that from the start in your program, be it your age gate or be it any other compliance that you have to adhere to as a brand. And secondly, it's the transferability of your tokens that you are getting from a certain brand. And here again, in a way, it's similar to what I just described. The brand usually sponsors or even organizes certain events around a certain theme. It can be music, it can be sports, and the connection between what happens in a store or in a bar or and these events, and you're able to connect those dots because of the underlying technology of Web3. Then I think that's where a lot of magic can happen.
I think now we're through the nuttiness of NFTs as JPEGs and actually into NFTs have a real functional use. And now that we're able to bury the complexity of Web3 into like a Web2 experience, I see so much more potential. You mentioned you're working with an early stage entity that's that's building in this space. Are you able to share a little bit about them?
Yeah, so this is a company based in New York. They're called Glass, and they are particularly focusing on the beverage industry and the alcohol beverage industry to help them overcome those regulatory requirements, but also to connect what happens in the store, in a bar, at an event, and even be able to share the rewards between maybe a certain event. There's other parties involved as well, between the different parties that are involved in this event. It's a startup still, but they're growing fast, and the traction is really good.
I've seen the same. There's a couple. One is Ivy Pass, and the other is Tronic. More fashion, retail focused, a little bit of sports and ticketing, and I think it's encouraging because the granularity of insights that we get from the wallet are just something we've never had before.
And the ease of use. It's so. Yes, Web3, NFT buying, and these kind of things is still in my view. Maybe a bit complex for the very broad audience, but the ease now of how you can get through a loyalty program on Web3. A token in your wallet is that, and even people don't know even it's a Web3 token. So
exactly.
Still they have it. So
I think they think it's still their airline. It's like their airline ticket. Oh, it's in my wallet, right?
Yeah.
Which is great.
No, that's how it should be. I think that's where it should go. It shouldn't be so difficult. So in loyalty, that's already happening, and that's great because at some point in time, then the consumers will figure out, hey, I can actually sell this token.
There you go.
Or the reward behind the token, I can sell it. I can sell it to somebody else, or I can share it, or I can trade it. And then I think, and if you now go and look at Gen Z, they already get that.
Yes, yes.
They trade so easily. They have learned that already while gaming, that they can trade any of the what they bought for a certain skins and weapons and what have you. And now they will immediately understand. I have this token now. I can trade. I can sell it to my friend, or I can change. He can go to this event because I want to go to that event that he has the token for, and that's all becomes possible. And who is the beneficiary? The brand in the end, because they will be kind of credited for making this all possible.
So if we sort of pivot here, we've talked a lot about kind of what's going on today and what you're seeing and hearing to the future. You have a background in tech. You still run your own tech company where you build software. You have a background in retail across different industries. What is the future of the retail landscape, specifically as it relates to technology enabling new things? And we've talked about Web3 a little bit. So go beyond that. What does the future look like? And you can go, 5-10 years, wherever you want to go. But where does the future of a tech-powered retail landscape go from here?
I think we're already dreaming for maybe already 10 years more of real personalization. And I think it will now happen. In the next 5 years, we will really see that we might have we might have our tokens in our wallets that that really are catered to what we want and where we want to go. The offers that we get will be truly personalized. So I think that's one thing that now finally will really happen. That we are being recognized when we go into a store and served in the way, and with products that we could be or will be interested in. So I think that part will certainly happen.
And
that is regardless of online, offline, and whether we like to get the experience of going somewhere. I think that the experience part will become better. But on the other hand, also knowing, okay, now we better send it to the homes, because that's the best way of delivering the product or service right now.
And AI?
AI will be driving all of this. Because it will take in the weather again. It will take in events that happen, maybe personally as well as in general. So AI will be driving this.
There's this concept that comes up when I hear you speak on spectrums where we have pendulum swings. And over time, you see these cycles up and down of, kind of individualistic and the importance of self-expression and freedom of thought and whatnot over to kind of groupthink or collectivism. And same thing for kind of physical and digital. And to your point around physical experiences, I think, especially still coming out of the pandemic and this collective, global traumatic event that we all went to when we were kind of made to feel lonely and held back from each other, which was for the right reason. But now, we're coming back in and people are like, I want to get together again. And so I see a lot of folks, prioritizing and investing in going places, physically going places, whether it be a vacation or a shopping experience or wherever. So I think we have these pendulum swings that kind of come cyclically and pass through.
Yeah, no, true. And I think that will not change this future so much. It is just the way we want it. So do we want it, individualistically at home, one side of the pendulum, or do we want it collectively somewhere in a place that we, with a certain community, like to be? And I think but both will be in a way personalized. It can also be community personalized, or really individually. But I'm with you. I think that's experiences, however they will be catered for.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, Hugo, thank you for joining us here on the Retail Alchemist podcast. We enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks, Hugo.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.